So I'm going to take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Avanti Bammanhalli. I am the co-founder and CEO of Conscious Together. We bring mindfulness-based, psychology-based courses into the workplace. We I cannot say why, but if you shake your head again, I will know that you can't hear me. So I appreciate that nod. Um, Like, and so the idea for me to bring mindfulness as a tool into the workplace was when I began thinking that we're looking at jobs as a competitive, each one has to do better than the other sort of workplace. But what if we look at it as a collaborative space where we bring the best of each other? And what would that take in terms of creating a non-toxic environment at workplace? And that's how Conscious Together came around. I believe that if we learned how to manage our triggers, our emotional reactions to situations and people and places, then we would be a better version of ourselves. And I think that focus has also led me to thinking that the journey you are on as a job seeker is far more than just getting a paycheck. I think it is more about redefining yourself. It's about looking at how you can bring value to the organization in a new way than you've done before, based on whether you had jobs before or not. And I think you are developing that new version of yourself, which brings or which begins with the fact that you have to understand yourself, where you want to go, and what your next goal is. And so that is where I think I'm hoping to facilitate this dialogue with you today. So thank you for taking time. And I am going to go ahead, stretch my technical boundaries, and make sure I share the presentation with you now, because they should work. So briefly, a little bit about the company. I have told you already. You can see my slides now, I imagine. If you can give me a thumbs up, that'll help. Perfect. Thank you. So the vision and mission is where we bring more humane practices via the use of mindfulness as a psychological tool, um, which brings mostly trauma-informed coaching to workplaces. Now, when we're looking at a job search, and while I begin talking, I'd love to know a little bit more about you. But if you can put in the chat section a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and how long have you been in this job search journey? Has it been a month? Has it been more or less? I mean, feel free to share what you like about this job search journey. Are you here because you're looking for jobs, or are you here because you want to understand the psychology behind it? Tell us a little bit about you. I believe that looking for a job can really get us all wound up. It can get us in our heads. We attach our personal worth to whether we find jobs or not, and that doesn't always help our job search journey, right? And that's why I'm trying to now go ahead and split the presentation into three distinct parts. One is where we manage ourselves. How do we manage who I am? How do I look and show up as an individual, as a job searching individual? That will be the first focus. The second will be where we look at managing our relationships, where we're looking at how are we showing up in the ecosystem that we are a part of. And the third, of course, we look at managing the search itself. I've brought together some statistics, and I hope that makes sense to us. I'm going to pause here for a second because I cannot see the chat. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Yes, I can see the chat now. So nothing in the chat so far. Okay.
Okay, so I think Avanti, you can make it clear. So, do you want us to answer in the chat?
Yes, please. I mean, if you can add a little bit about yourself or your job search or what you're looking for from this or why you're here today, I think that helps a lot.
Okay, so
But it's totally okay if people feel like they don't want to add in. I mean, it's a choice and nothing held against. Let me see. I'm going to zoom out to see the chat.
yeah,
Yeah, I can see that now.
I have written why I'm here today.
Yes, Jagdish, thank you. Thank you, Divya. Thank you. Thank you, Humanai and Chetna. Okay, so I'm going to go back as the chat builds up to continue sharing. So the first thing I wanted to highlight is when we look at the extent of the problem that we're looking at, job searches in Sweden in the last 10 years or so, you can see that about 67 to 68% of the workforce in Sweden is employed substantially. And there's about a 15.1% 15.1% of population which is still looking for jobs. And this was in 2023, but if you look at the 2024 stats, which I could not add to this graph, it's gone up to 17% for women, foreign-born women looking for work, but it has stayed at 15.2 for men who are foreign born and are looking for work. So there is slight disparity, but the intention of bringing these stats to us is to say that we may not have jobs as of now, but most of them get jobs quite easily. We are able to get placed pretty much. However, the unemployment of youth, so people who are between 15 and 24, that's the only group which is seen unemployment raise to up to 2.2%. But in terms of long-term unemployed individuals, which is about 27 weeks, it's increased substantially, gone up from 24,000 to 152,000 people. So, which means that the level of unemployment or the level of unemployment for people who've been out of jobs for more than 27 weeks is increasing, which means that if you have been out of the race for a bit, it may be hard to get back in because the scene has changed because people are doing different jobs. Our skills are no longer valid, and so for people who've looked at changing work for about 24 to 27 months, this is what is showing up. We are needing to change the skills that we have on hand. Um, given this landscape, we're looking at also another fact here that long-term unemployment, yes, is rising, of course, but rejection rates are high because also looking at the age that you're at, if you're between 25 and 54 years, the average time that it takes to find a new job is about 44 weeks, right? It's 74 weeks if you're over 54 And so the average time a person is requiring to look for a job is about 40 weeks, right? And so when we're looking at how we should think about our jobs, one is we're learning long-term employment means we have to work harder at finding jobs. But for people who are switching from existing jobs also, it's not an easy move, which means that finding jobs in total has become a nightmare in Sweden in the current moment, right? Recessions happening, AI is taking over. People are changing skills like never before at a rate like never before. And it is time we start getting more aware about it. It's starting to affect us more now. Any questions or any thoughts you have at this point? I'm looking at the chat now. Brian, originally from the US. Brian, thanks. With my fiance, and I'm hoping to get strategies. Thank you. And abroad seems, yeah, thank you. Now, so no questions, I take it, in this chat. Okay, good. All right. I'm going to go ahead with saying that I'm sure you're trying different means to look for jobs. But today we're going to look at one belief that you are willing to change today that you've carried about your job search. I think to make this time useful to both you and me, right, to make it really impactful, and to Jagdish, to create that impact that we're looking at, I really wanted to challenge that one belief you've carried about your job search, right? And what would that be? What is your current belief about your job search? Can you write a belief that you hold in the chat, please? I will wait till I read a couple of them. Now, when I say belief about your job search, it could mean that it's going to take terribly long, that it could be a positive belief or a negative belief. Divya says, compared to other countries in Europe, why is it more difficult to find a job in Sweden? Okay, that's a belief that you're holding. That I'm qualified for a number of different roles. Fantastic. Yes, that's the belief that you're holding. That your CV and skills reflect expectations, and that's quite interesting. Arcadius, I'd love to talk more about that. That
Yes.
it's much harder. Yes, would you like to say a little bit about it?
Me, I believe you have to be like a match for the what's being looked for. Otherwise, basically, you have to reflect what's said in the description, and maybe also what's not. So, for example, what's the market standard for a role?
Yeah.
Then if you like fulfill the requirements both set and unset, you'll have like a higher success rate.
I love that. I love that. And so you're using your CV to say this is what I expect from the role I'm. Yeah. And
Yeah, but it also should reflect the expectations. Yeah, if you're like to be employed.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, if you like look for like more senior position,
Mhm.
then also you should know you should have some particular skills in your CV if even if they are not like, being asked for. So yeah, and the other thing is you should like custom your profile to the
Yeah.
role. So like get
Got
rid
it.
of anything that maybe not really needed, just to
Yeah. Mhm.
so you look more like clean and tidy and a better fit.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
thank you for sharing. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. And I think what you're trying to say also is to bring your best foot forward. You want to look your part, you want to look competent, and that's how you want to show up. I hear you. I hear you. I'm looking also at the other beliefs. Architects, I will come back and we will continue this conversation. So I'm moving on to the other chats, but yes, we will continue this conversation. Ekta says, I believe it's more convenient for a connection within the industry to find the job. Okay, that's one belief. I find applying for jobs on LinkedIn almost like a dead end. Okay, thank you for sharing. Network is more important in a job search. I hear you, Grishma. And Brian says most of the advertised jobs are already filled, indeed, through connections or internal candidates. I hear you. Yes. And so we have quite similar here expectations from what we're seeing on LinkedIn jobs. So this is a great start. I'm going to go back to my slides now because I will continue the story there. So my idea of how we look for a job here is to challenge to say, how are we building our personal brand? Yes, if the job is not available still and we know that these are all filled, for example, how can we still stand out from the rest and become a magnet to opportunities, right? Or at least create work that will keep us connected to the field that we want to work in, which means that building a personal brand will be important. Your mindset during the interview is important, and also talking about your story and your own strengths with evidence is what will be important. Now, let's go one by one, and I should have started there, but when we talk about building a personal brand, and tell me your comments in the chat. I mean, I'm reading them as we speak, but your personal brand, be it on LinkedIn, be it on a website that you have, or your CV, talks about why you made decisions that you made. It could be taking a sabbatical in your career. It could be going off to do another degree, or it could be taking a role which is completely different from what you trained for. And so building a personal brand, especially when you come to a new country, and reinventing the narrative, the story that you bring to this side of the world is very important. If you are able to think different, you will also appear different. So be it competence in the interview, be it confidence in the interview, it will all show up. When your story empowers you to say, I moved to Sweden because this relationship really mattered to me, and I wanted to make my effort in doing what it took to be the person to support my spouse to then come here and take this risk. And that is also how it reflects in my job, that I will do what it takes to make it successful. And so if you're able to take this one value, one competence, and then be able to switch it to something that will also highlight your strength in your interview, that matters a lot. Um, any thoughts on this? Patience is key, Anu says. So when I was in the HR field, when I worked in Hong Kong, so I spent a few years in Shanghai, some years in Hong Kong, and in Stockholm over the last 4 years. But looking at how the journey, I mean, the HR function pretty much remains same across all continents. We're looking at a good person. The person may not fit the role the best, but if the person shows strength, trustworthiness, and competence, right, and this grounded belief that they know what they want, those are the things that were always picked on. When I was a recruiter, for example, I always looked for people who trusted themselves, who believed their strengths, and who were able to say, this is why I'm taking a risk with my new role. I have applied for something that is 3 times lower than my last job, but this is the reason I'm doing it. So, bringing your own narrative and building your own personal brand around it will be very important. The other thing, and I wanted to say that here also is that when you're talking about roles, and especially what I'm seeing in Sweden, and I have had my own job search journey here. I started with a smaller job in Sweden, and from that experience, I know that unless you bring value to the role that you're filling or you intend to fill, as a partner, the more desperate you look, the more, you know, the more boundaryless you look, the worse it is for your credibility, right? You want to look confident, you want to look like you know your part, you want to look like you also understand the ecosystem, the organization, and that is what is going to build credibility around you and your story. So that is very key. And when we're in this job searching, environment, when we're in this slightly challenging phase of life, when we don't have a pay slip, it is very easy to slip into regular negative thinking and ruminating. And that is what we're going to talk about next. Thank you, Helena, about for your comment. Because when we encounter rejection, it's not a verdict, right? It is something that we're taking as feedback. It is a moment. And when you look at a rejection, when you see that the only emails you're getting are, sorry, you're not fit for this role, sorry, we don't need you, it's not about you as an individual, but it's about what they're looking for in their organization, right? And it is feedback for you as an individual to say what works with my CV. I mean, what is the story my CV is pushing? And like the gentleman earlier spoke, it is about setting the expectations. What do I see myself doing when I apply for a competent role? That is what your CV should say. I mean, a lot of us now take help from AI tools to write out our resumes, but really a handwritten, imperfect CV could do the trick if your story and personal brand are solid. I know that recruiters today are looking up your Facebook page, they're looking up your Instagram and LinkedIn pages at the very minimum. So, what is the story that these profiles are talking about? This is equally important, right? Going to look at my chats now. Feel like I've been talking a lot. Okay. And so I wanted to go back to Helena's, Helena, with your permission. What kind of team player you are, independent and teachable, and that you have a passion for what you do. And so what is your story? What is the story that you have reinvented yourself, Helena? Would you like to talk to that for a bit?
Yeah. So I said branding is important. So on my job search journey, found out that it is similar to my home country and the places where I worked, but here it's very limited market. So they have to know you, because if they want to invest in you, they can't get rid of you so fast in a way because of the laws and the contracts. So they will think about carefully who they want to employ and have in the team. So all the stories that I heard, like positive stories, actually they got the position because they showed what their passion is. Why did they start their job? What do they see? Even if it's like a mundane from like a normal everyday point of view. So they have to say, why do I want to write this code, or why do I want to work in import-export? It is something that you see. Why do you wake up every day? So they want to hear that, because they will know you will stay and that you want to learn more. So yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I think I'm inspired to also add that people want to know whether you're trustworthy,
Yeah.
whether you're, looking for opportunities as a chance to hop on from one end to the other, or you're someone who is stable, who will add in no matter if you have some good days and bad days. Will you stick to the plan? Will you stick to the organization? Because they are spending a lot of time and effort on you. And oftentimes, people coming from other countries could be quite flippant. We could be quite excited to move out of our roles or take roles just for the sake of, keeping them. And so, or just for the sake of, just for the sake of the pay slip. And maybe that is not the best approach, right? All right. So when we're talking about a psychological tool to manage rejection, how are you currently dealing with a rejection? How do you deal with a rejection? I want you to put this in the chat, please. What happens as soon as you get rejected? Say you have received you've put in a lot of work and effort in creating an application. It takes a lot of time, I agree. And it's come back to you in 2 days' time that, oh, sorry, but we've just filled the position. What is the first thing that goes through your mind when you receive that email? You can also speak up if you like to, rather than putting it in the chat. Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. It's frustration, reflection, motivation to apply to another job. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That's your spiral, so to say. Can I delve a little bit more, Brian, on this? When you say frustration, what is the belief that supports that frustration?
I think it really depends on the timing, right? So if I get a rejection, 1 or 2 days later, that's okay. I didn't bypass some ATS screening. That's annoying
Right.
because obviously they haven't looked at my CV.
Yeah.
Then I think it's also a pairing with the role. Some jobs you just know you're a perfect fit for. Like I've done exactly what you're asking for. It's spelled out in my CV. If you read my CV, you know I'm exactly the right candidate.
Yeah.
And to get rejected from that role is incredibly frustrating. But I think again that ties into my next point around reflection. Okay, what's happening here? Is it if I'm such a good fit for this role, what are the options? What's really going on here? It's something else. I think that's happening here rather than maybe my skills and experience aren't spelled out. No one I've had look at my CV has said, this isn't good. I think what's happening here is okay. I need to actually change my approach here in some way, and I think that's what I've done over the past few months. I've been here since really looking for a job since sort of September of last year. And that sort of part of the year, I was really just focusing online, and then I shifted to a strategy of going to in-person events and conferences and networking in person, and that's really proven to do quite well. I've applied to, let's say, Volvo, for instance, and get rejected right off the bat.
Right.
I applied to a job 2 weeks ago, and then I messaged someone I had met from Volvo and said, "Hey, I applied for this role." And then she said, "Hey, well, I know the hiring manager. I'll let her know." And then now I have an interview, right? So I think
Fantastic.
It's the approach, right? Like nothing's wrong with my CV. It's nothing wrong with my experience. It's
Right.
how does the market work? What's the cheat code, I guess, to break into the market?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Brown, for sharing that. But I think you are trying to find different ways to explore what factors are affecting your job search, and you're not taking it personally in that sense. And you decided to go outside of your comfort zone to find out people, experiences that'll get you closer to the actual job find, right? Thank you. Thank you for elaborating. I'm looking at the chat, and I know Farwa said that she continues her job search. She doesn't take it to heart. And I understanding finding a job will take time. Fantastic. And she also keeps herself sane by walks in the nature and doing exercises. That's brilliant. And I think, Farwa, that is important to mental health too, to say that, yes, it's not going to be an easy task. And we have to keep ourselves present and in a mindset that is hopeful for the longer term. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Helena says, here we go again, another rejection letter. I guess I had to contact the company before I've sent my CV. Yes, I'm stupid. I don't speak Swedish fluently. Am I overqualified? A lot of thoughts. And this is exactly the most normal reaction that anyone could have. I'm sure Brian has it. I'm sure Farwa has it. Helena, you've shared it, so thank you for being, super brave about it. But this is absolutely the activation of rejection, where we say, damn it, I have to continue doing this job search, right? Damn it, I have to fill out another Team Tailor application. Again, go through the numerous forms, go through the reams of people, and I have to look for something new. This is probably the biggest barrier that is stopping you from enjoying this job search, right? And as a psychologist, I can say that when we bring curiosity to this thought process that we're having, why do I think that a job search should be painful? Why do I think that a job search should be easy? This is the first belief that we can challenge in ourselves, right? The easiest thing to do is to blame it on Sweden, the current scenario. And while it is true, there is also the element where, for us personally, looking for a job is not easy because we have it in our heads, in our minds, that once we find the job, everything is going to be fine. Is that right? I've been a job seeker, and so I can speak from my experience that we're always looking at grass being greener on the other side. And so, if we challenge this belief, saying, yes, life is good after we find a job, but life can also be good while we are looking for a job. It is one less thing that we don't have, but it doesn't define my life. It is only the current situation. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good mindset, O'Brien here. I think it's a good mindset. It just doesn't necessarily feel so fun. I think I'd love to make it a fun experience, but it doesn't feel so fun when you're doing.
Yes, I completely agree. I mean, it takes a while to think differently, Bran, and I wouldn't hold you to it. Our first most easy response to any situation is that, oh my God, this is more work. But look at it this way, when you get a job, the work that you're doing just gets paid, which is why it's more lucrative, it's more fun. Right now, you're doing a job too, of looking for a job. It's just that you don't get paid. But if you can connect that activity to a motivation saying, You are creating a network of people that you know. You are looking at a job scape as a career progression, not just a job hunt. Then you will expand the way you handle networking, you will expand the way you handle tailoring your CV to a job in totality. Right? So when I say this, if you are starting to enjoy the process of looking a job, I believe that you could do a few different things, right? And I would invite you to say, if you've changed your belief and said, looking for jobs is going to be exciting and hope filled, what activities would you take part in? What would you be starting to do today, for example? And Oma Oba says that they're volunteering at this time. That's a fantastic way to keep connected with your purpose and passion. Divya says first comes mind, exactly. She is looking for jobs, but she also is able to reframe that it's not my day. But really, if you were starting to enjoy the job search, what would you think like, for example?
I can say, like, for example, because I mapped companies and places that I would like to work with. So
Yeah.
I try to research a bit more and go to events or sign up for courses if I know I could meet people and have contacts with. So in the end, sometimes I concluded that maybe that's not the best place for me, and then
Yeah.
I can focus on other things. It's like a awesome journey that I'm like working with the same pool of people that maybe I'll be really working with. So
Right.
then, yeah, so I will decide then, okay, not the best place. I'll focus
Yeah.
on the other stuff.
Yes. Fantastic. And this is where you're coming to a place where you partner with the organization that you're potentially working with and you're doing your checks, you're checking if they're toxic. I think what Helena says is so important and foundational. You're spending a lot of your time looking for the right organization. What if they turn out to be a nightmare organization? What if they don't align at all with your value system? So you want to be also taking the time to find the organization which is close to you, to your values. So researching, Helena, I can hear you say that, researching about the organization, talking to people about why they enjoy working in the organization they're working in. That gives you a lot of information about what the teams work like. And for you to be able to then create a plan on how and what kind of people to meet will become easier. Oba, what place are you volunteering at? Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so right now, I have the qualification of a teacher from my home country,
Okay.
Nigeria. So,
Yes.
but because I presently live in Finland,
Okay.
and to be a teacher here, you basically would need the language and all of
Yes.
that. And the international school, they want a very high. I've applied to the school, but
Yes.
I'm still not getting any feedback. But on the
Right.
side, I learned photography,
Okay.
and I go to different groups where I take pictures of their events, and I have friends who have, like, there's this African wedding fair that just happened
Yeah.
in Helsinki. I volunteered to cover the event, and
Wow.
also there's one coming up in Olu, Africans in Olu,
Okay.
and I'll be going to Olu to cover that event too. So I try to improve my skills in photography. And then while I am also trying to get to school to get my master's done in terms of the education aspect, because I know, okay, I cannot be a class teacher if I do not have my master's done.
Yes.
So I'm putting
Yes.
up for that, and I'm also going. There's this Toastmasters
Yes.
stuff I joined. So
Yes.
I go for it Mondays and Tuesdays to improve my speaking and all of that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm doing all of that, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping that someday it will pay off.
And did you know that you had this other side of you? Would you have tried photography otherwise if you were in a job, for example?
No, you know what was funny is I while growing up I wanted to go into movie and all of that, but it
Mhm.
wasn't encouraged in those days because they just feel, what, you want to go and become an actor? They don't pay them well. Go get a good job or something. So I didn't pursue that. But when I came to Finland here in
Yeah.
my church then,
Yeah.
I joined the media, and
Right.
there they used to teach photography and all of that. No, we used to do photography with our phones and do media stuff.
Right.
Until I just thought, why don't I just go into this photography? And now I'm a freelance photographer. I take some people
Fantastic.
photos and all of that. Yeah, so
And
it's
you can
starting
also,
really small. Yeah.
yeah, and you can also be paid for it. I mean, that's
Yes.
another income stream, isn't it?
Yes. Even though
That's
it's not much money yet,
yes.
the business is not known so much yet, but I know that gradually it will get somewhere soon. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, rather than
That
just
is one fact. This is yes, this
wait
is
for a job.
this
Let
is
me
exciting.
create that for myself. Yeah.
And I mean, the only question, and coming back to the entire group now as well, I love the story that Obo had, but I feel like the one question that always remains is, Avanti, what is the financial impact of not having a job, and how long can we sustain it, right? I just want to add a disclaimer here that I'm not minimizing or discounting the need for financially having to support ourselves through this difficult period of not having a paycheck. I'm in no ways looking down upon it. My one my one ask, though, is of you to say that we are going through the biggest flux possible thanks to AI, thanks to changing skills today, not only in Sweden, but if you go, I mean, where I come from India or Hong Kong, you will see similar shifts there as well. You go to the US, you have very similar situations. People who are getting older are not able to keep up with skills, or people who are young and who don't have experience are also finding it difficult to keep up with looking for jobs and maintaining a financial sort of health. So I'm not going to speak about financial health today at all. I'm expecting that you have support systems around you that will allow you to look for the job that will truly make a difference for you. I just thought that that was important to mention in this bit. I'm going to look at the chats once more. Nothing here. It's awfully quiet. If you have the feedback, please share that with me. Right. And so I wanted to say a little bit about how we can look at talking to ourselves in a more supportive way. That sometimes when we feel that I cannot handle this, right? That's the first thought that comes up. Is there a way to say, this is hard, but I'm really not alone? There are other people in this situation as well. And I can lean on my support network. I will have friends who will tell me if there's a new role showing up somewhere that is relevant to me. Or if I just need to speak to someone, I have that support network. Right? Or if a thought comes up saying, this is so difficult for me, I cannot handle this, to say and to teach yourself that the first time or the first few weeks are really hard, and that you just have to keep going one step at a time. Find smaller joys that'll keep you in the bigger running for a good job, for a job that matches your skill set. And when you think that I'm not good at this, for example, it could be a skill, it could be, a role that you're already in. you can tell yourself that I've just begun learning this skill, this behavior, this new culture, and it's okay to be a work in progress, right? To have to bring that lens of compassion to ourselves, to first say that it's okay not to have a job. That is our first aid, actually, to say, so what if I don't have a job? It doesn't mean that I'm not proving myself, that there is no shame associated with it. It doesn't mean I'm a failure, but it means that this is a new situation, given the background I have from the skills, from the roles that I come with. It could be a mother's role, somebody who stayed at home rearing children and then is trying to break into the workplace. I mean, that's a really hard thing to do at different levels. And to allow ourselves the time and the kindness that we expect the world to show us, to bring that compassion into ourselves, to say, it's not ideal, but I feel good about myself. The moment you talk to yourself like this for 3 days, and I can write this down, it's worked with me. The moment you do that, you will see yourself for what you are, for the reality of the situation. You will feel more confident in yourself. You will have less guilt. You will not be critical. There will be less stress in your body and mind. And that will bring you in a better mindset. One where you feel like you can control the situation of the job search and not the other way around. You don't feel controlled by the job situation. You feel well in yourself to be able to control the situation outside of you. Hmm? I think that is the second big shift that we want to create. When we are looking for jobs out of fear, we come across as, we come across as job changers, not career seekers. We come across as desperate people trying to just get in somewhere, break in somewhere, right? And that means we are not sticking to our values, we are not sticking to our boundaries, but really the job will control everything about our life. That is what we're telling the interviewers. I have had as an HR recruiter, people who would say, Avanti, just give me this job. Please, I really need it. Right? And while I have compassion and kindness to this person who's asking for a job, I really don't know if they're competent enough to do the job and handle the team at work. And so when someone shows up with this energy of hopelessness and fear, it tells me that the person is being controlled by their situation. And when you're at a job, when you're holding a position, there will be ample times when this will be true. A situation outside of you will try to control you. Your bosses will want you to do something, or external forces will come in. But are you able to hold your own will be the first thing to discern in a situation. So remember, in my experience and as a psychologist, I believe that when you have agency on yourself, when you feel like you can control the environment around you, you will be in a much better situation to manage the expectations of a job search. Do you have anything to say about this? I have now spoken again for a bit. Jagdish, do you have anything to say here? Can someone speak a word? Because I feel like no one's here with me now.
I can hear you clearly. Yep.
Yes, now I can.
Yeah,
Yes,
at least
yes.
I'm too involved in
Yes.
it. Yeah.
I can hear you, yes. But do you have anything to say? I mean, tell me what's showing up for all of you. Can you leave a message in the chat or speak up, please? Oh, Shanti, thank you.
I can say, I think it helped me to also like listen to my boyfriend. He's Swedish, but I'm like, how to say, my value is not me looking for a job. I have value beside my, let's say that if I have a job, I'll have a value even beyond that. So I'm not just let's say the name of your profession, but I'm also a person with like, let's say hobbies, or let's say, I always say now I'm a student again. So I'm not unemployed, I'm a student, I'm learning. So for me, it's like very important part to reframe who am I, because it doesn't change all the skills I have and my diploma and all the languages I speak, but not like Swedish some, but it's still the same person. So it's just one added problem that I need to solve.
I agree. Thank you so much for sharing that, Helena. I think it brings a healthy sort of outlook to a job search when we are in the right mindset. We're also able to say and think the right way. We're calmer and less stressed about it. So absolutely important. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you.
Can I share the difficulties I have as a person, and also the blessing I have?
Yes.
For example, here in Finland, I came to Finland through my husband,
Right.
and so my husband works, and I don't. I'm unemployed, and it's a blessing because the government gives us a stipend, give us something to manage ourselves. Even though while with the new government, a lot has reduced.
Right.
We still have a stipend, unlike where I'm coming from in Africa. We don't have the jobs, and we're not getting nothing from the government. In fact, the government is taking a lot from you than even giving you anything. But so we have that. So we have this allowance to be get ourselves balanced. So what I mean is that my husband, for example, works, he pays taxes, he has a business that he's running. While I am not doing anything, but I'm getting a little benefit, and I'm getting support for maybe my medicals if necessary, and the rents. And I get a little stipend from the government, which is really, really good. And I know that we don't get that in many other countries. So what I do now is the little money, the little challenge I have presently is that I have a sick mom in Africa, in Nigeria. I have a sick mom, she's really sick, and I pay her nurse and I pay the nanny. I'm paying a lot. I'm paying for her house rent. I'm paying for a lot of things to care for her. You understand? So it's a lot of money. So most of those things I get from the government is what I send home.
Right.
You know, so there's really nothing. I'm not able to really support my husband that much. And even though my husband also has his own family that he is caring for and all of that, so it's quite challenging. However, the Finnish government has made it easy for me to manage myself, you know. But in as much as I'm doing that, I know that I started an organization in 2023.
Okay.
It's called My Skill, My Voice. And we train during the summer. We get all the children, especially, I'll say especially Africans, because in we Africans do not have the luxury to go for We don't have the luxury to go for summer holidays and travel and all of that. We're saving, a lot of us are saving the money because, we're hoping that someday we'll go back home. And when
Yeah.
we go back home, we're not going to drag jobs with people. We're not going to begin to compete with people for jobs. We need to go and create more jobs for people. So we're going to the country where people are in need. So we need to go back to create. So what I do with the organization right now is we train young children. So for those people who are not able to take people for summer and they have their children at home on just playing games and all of that, we invite them to come and train in baking, learning to sew, different skills. So I have
Omo, I think I would love for you to share a little bit about the organization on the chat, because I feel like now we're veering off the
okay.
presentation.
All
And
right.
while I love to hear about what you're saying, I think it's important that we come back to the slides, because in the interest of time, I also want to take a few more questions and bring Jagdish together in this. So is it okay if you can leave us a link that
Okay.
we can all follow? I
Okay,
appreciate
thank
that.
you. Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much.
that. Thank you. All right. So I want to initiate another way of thinking about a job search here, right? Now, when we leave our countries, for example, we are set in a way of believing how the job market works. That is, if we look at that as our comfort zone, coming into a new country is almost pushing us into a learning zone of learning the new culture, learning the new way people talk about business, learning the new way that people get jobs. And that could mean that I have to know somebody to get a job. And that means I need to find people who are in similar situations, probably. And so that brings us into a learning zone. But really, we're learning about skills, our resume, what needs to be done to then move into a growth zone, right? When we look back at our journeys, and someone said 4 years, someone said 2 years since they're looking for jobs, what has changed within you from when you came from your home country to make you ready for this job market? That is the question you should be asking yourself. When I look at office goers, when I speak to people in roles that I want to be in, what is the conversation they're having? What is their demeanor? What is their thought process? How are they getting support from their teams? These are the questions you should be asking to move forward. When we start looking at international job search as a career move, not as something to keep us busy. And this is the other thing, right? We're looking at how can I go out and do something. I don't want to be sitting at home and doing nothing, right? That is also a belief that I want to challenge. To say, when we're looking at professionally competent individuals in the work sphere today, we are rapidly looking at people challenging their skills. They are going into video mode from audio, they're changing the way they do business, they're going into podcasts. I mean, there's a whole skill set that they're building to change how they do business. So when you look competent, when you look your part, you look like you're in here for a career, then you are more prepared to do what it takes to build that job journey, right? Versus if you're looking to get out of the house to do something, then you should be prepared to do anything. It could be being in a cafe and managing a cafe as a restaurant manager, or it could be helping customers in a volunteer organization. So, what is your definition of a job is something that I wanted to challenge as well. The only time we can go from a comfort zone to a growth zone is when we're taking our career seriously, and that will propel us to look competent, push us to, try out skills that we've never done before. Public speaking, going to Toastmasters, these are things we will do because we want to achieve something. If our goal is to achieve time outside of the house, that is a different goal, and we should look at returns also similarly. It would mean that we may not have a regular job. It would mean longer hours, lower compensation, not having the opportunity to use skills that we've built. So this is also the mindset that I wanted to talk about here, right? Right, and I think before we go here, I want to, is there any thoughts or questions so far? I want to now bring you to a few breakout rooms to then talk to each other to say, what is the problem here? Am I looking for a job or am I looking for a career? And what does it mean to be able to keep in this job looking journey, right? I'm creating some breakout rooms now. If you do not wish to be in a breakout room, you can always come back to the main room and Jagdish and I will be there. But I'm going to move you into breakout rooms. Any questions before we go in? Is everyone okay with it? I cannot see here on my screen. Hang on. Helena, did you just nod? Thank you. All right. So let's do this. I have assigned everyone randomly as of now, but I think it's great because we have a very even split of people. All right, there we go. You have 10 minutes before when you will come back. So I will see you all in about 10 minutes. The idea of a breakout room is to share your journey, talk about beliefs that you're holding on to, and look at what are we doing to network and create this community of job seekers that can remain connected even after the call today, to say, to exchange notes or leads, or, randomly to meet for a coffee if you're in the same city or town. So I want you to connect a little bit before we move ahead. All right. You can join the breakout rooms as they show up. So thank you everyone for coming back.
Yeah, we are back.
Thank you. How was it for you? Is there anything that stood out? Do we have all your team out here now?
Mhm.
Yes, I think so. We'll wait for everyone to join and maybe do a round robin. Okay, I think we're all here. I know some people dropped off at the hour, so we have now a melange of experiences and what people have learned through their job journeys. Would anyone like to share what went on in those rooms? I mean, tell me a little bit about it.
It's me again. So I was in the breakout room number 3.
Okay.
We had a nice discussion. and mostly people that work either were in data security or education. So it's interesting to hear that we all have the same obstacle, that we see it as not understanding the market. Like, what's the deal? What are the rules of the game? How do we join in, and how do we stop making mistakes?
Yeah.
And also, what should we focus on? Getting more courses or language, or both at the same time, or are we underqualified or overqualified? So it's always like to measure what is more important. Yeah.
And that's such a pivotal question. How did you think of, so what came out of that discussion? How did you know where to look for what skills were required? I mean, did you get to delve in? I mean, it's 10 minutes, not a lot, but
Yeah. No, so it depends on the market, exact market, but let's say, I don't know, data scientists or security data or IT engineers, they usually refer to job ads or their internships.
right. Yeah.
But it's hard to get in, especially if you don't know anybody, and we're just like some foreign name with the CV and a photo, and
Right.
that's it. So yeah, if they can't pronounce our name, like, where do we stand? Like, so they have to know us. Yeah, so it's a bit difficult.
So I have two things to say on that. One is for a close friend who has just gotten hired, what they have done is they've met with people in the role that they're looking to be in a couple of months. And they've gone out, spoken to them, looked at what skills, why do people, what do I need to learn? How can I be best relevant? And so they've gone out first with curiosity about those roles before even applying for them. So that is one. They've gone on to speak to HR managers. And again, on LinkedIn, you will find some HR managers can be very helpful. If you write to them and say, this is what I'm looking for, I'm not looking for a job, but just a conversation or a coffee that I can buy you, a lot more people will be available to speak to you. Then you are building a sort of trust relationship with them. So that is one thing that has helped my acquaintance. But also, yes, LinkedIn and looking at the jobs may have been filled, but at least you know what relevant skills they're looking for. And that's what I did when I was looking for a job 3 years ago. It helped me find a job that I wanted at that time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'll just like follow up. Yeah, I think for my education background, it's very hard because in education in private schools, nobody wants to talk to you. They are just looking at you, are you going to steal our job? So it's very competitive because it takes a lot of time to get all the certificates for different types of like background, and so I so far haven't had any like willing people to speak, but I'm contacting them on like continuously.
right.
Yeah, so far nothing, but I think HR and how to say head of schools are very open, so they are willing to speak more because they want to get to know people who want to apply. Yeah.
Apply, exactly.
Yeah.
And so one is that also courses offered by the Folk Universitet are quite interesting because they're a blend of, using the Swedish language, depending on your expertise in it, to then gain practical work-related experience. I thought I'll put the name out here in case you haven't already come across it. But yes, thank you, Elena, and good luck with that search. I mean, we're in this journey. Thank you. Anyone else from the other groups who also want to share what they've spoken about?
Hi, this is Ekta. I was in breakout room 6.
Okay.
So we had a general conversation on where we are today and what we are looking for.
Right.
While having this conversation, a general question popped up that
Yeah.
how relevant or how important it is to mention a column of languages in your CV, or to have your CV in Swedish language.
Okay.
Even if you don't know Swedish, or even if you're learning Swedish, how important that is. So that I would like to know.
And maybe now I bring Jagdish into the conversation. Jagdish, would you like to add something here for us, please?
Yes. Sorry, Ekta, could you repeat your question?
So the conversation, amongst the conversation, this popped up that is it important to mention a language column in your CV? Let's say I write English, Hindi, and learning Swedish, and how important it is, and also will it make a difference if I make my CV in Swedish? Although I do not know Swedish, I'm just learning from past 1 month. It's just been a month.
Okay. So this subject, the Swedish subject itself, deserves 1 to 2 hours of discussion. Okay. But I'll try to
Yeah.
while we are discussing, I'll also share one post I made long ago on the same matter about Swedish. First of all, don't create a Swedish CV unless you speak fluent Swedish.
Okay.
Yes, when you are sending a CV in Swedish, the interviewer expects you to speak in Swedish.
Okay.
I mean, it's obvious. So you might get shortlisted because you sent a Swedish CV. But as soon as you showed up to the interview, within 5 minutes, the recruiter will make their decision to not to reject you. They might be nice to you and talk to you for an hour to make you feel good, and then you know what comes next.
Yeah.
In the mail.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, so that is one thing about making a Swedish CV. And when it comes to mentioning the Swedish proficiency in CV, it's always good. Okay, if
Mhm.
learning, just put it as learning. We had one session with Vivek Noel sometime back. He was like very high on learning Swedish. Okay,
Mhm.
he wants everyone to learn Swedish, but he came up with a new word, acquaintance. Okay,
Mhm.
you become acquaintance with the language and you present it during your discussion on your resume or wherever you get a chance on your LinkedIn, and just say it. It might help, it might not help, but it is good. It is expected in Sweden. We all know that we should speak Swedish. That is expected. But
Mhm.
some companies are hiring English speaking people because there is a need, especially in tech. There is a need. So, but they would still love it if you speak Swedish. uh, but they don't say it, but they can still hire you for just English speaking. So always it's always an advantage. Okay, so learning Swedish or mentioning
Okay.
about Swedish and your interest towards Swedish and the culture, it's always advantage. So mention it. But now I want to say one more thing. Like, never use Swedish as a reason for not getting the job. Okay,
Mhm.
Swedish is not
Yeah.
the reason for getting the job. Okay, there are so many people who are working without being fluent in Swedish. I am,
Mhm.
for example, have been working. My partner is working. I know so many people. So many people joined SITA who got jobs. More than 50 people got jobs. Only 1 or 2 people actually speak decent Swedish. Most of them don't speak Swedish. So don't use Swedish as a reason for not getting a
Mhm.
job. Some people use it just as an excuse. There are still ways to get a job. And learning Swedish is not a joke. It will not happen overnight. It will not happen in a month. It
I
takes 2 years to get to a professional level of fluency, B2C1 level. So keep that
yeah.
in mind. Okay.
I think what you're highlighting here, Jagdish, is also the fact that you look at building a career in Sweden as a more long-term
Exactly.
project
Yeah.
than, you know, taking a chance on the Swedish job market. You're not here just to try and work and try to find a small job somewhere. That is not the mentality or mindset that Sweden occupies when it comes to work. They take it very seriously and they want you to completely integrate in the culture. So that means learning the language, learning how they talk to each other, how they support each other, how they trust each other. And that is the mindset that you're referring to. It's not going to happen quickly. It'll take at least 2 to 3 years. So I think, yes, absolutely relevant what you're saying. Super
Ekta, I hope
helpful.
you got the answer, Ekta. Ekta, did you get the answer?
Yeah, I did. Thank you so much for
Right. Thank you.
explaining.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Over to you, Avanti.
Thank you, Jagdish. Is there anyone else who has questions or who wants to reflect on what they spoke about in the breakout rooms? Is there anything else that shows up for you right now? No. And I wanted to ask Arcadius, you had your camera on and you were starting to say something, but sorry, we'll probably move on.
Okay, I can share. We were in room 6, but I'm like in a different place than the colleagues because they are like on site. As I understood, they choose the strategy to integrate with the environment, with the people like in the city, and have some like struggles to find a job, and I'm like only considering, and I have like more experiences in applying abroad, so we share like some experiences. Runway, I noticed it's sometimes more difficult to apply if you are not living on site, because then you would have to say that you have to like go to extra mile and either be well suited for the job and also have like a good story why you want to move, and so it's like a bigger part of your journey. And anytime I even hesitated or like told that I have some like it will be some kind of challenge because I leave part of my family here and have to move and maybe do some traveling. And then also the recruiter looked at that like, and I believe was not really convinced by my story. So I would say that you have to really think over your reasons. If together with the applying, you will have to move. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And yes, being in Sweden while you're applying is key. Yes. And thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah. So I think I have a couple of slides just to round up on everything that I wanted to say today. And let me know if you have any more tips that you want to add, any resources that you thought were particularly helpful, or any LinkedIn groups that you thought were helpful. Please add those in the chat because it will also help others who are in the call for now. I am going to finish my slides. So I'm going to go back to sharing. But I think all I want to say is remember to keep testing your CV, keep testing the job market. You know, it's when you say that you're testing and you're getting feedback, it's not a failure really, and it is trying to find out what way can you present your CV or your case to make it sound appropriate for the role, make it sound appropriate to your values. And so the more you apply to roles and variety of roles, not just in your expertise, but also where you can help out, I think that is going to help you create a healthy relationship with this job search. You're trying out, you're experimenting, and you're learning a lot more about what works for you. So this is one. But also research the companies, and Helena said it very well. Research the companies you aspire to work with, build your information pool while you're applying for jobs. Look at where there is, where they're laying off people, for example, or whether there could be a role that is opening up, or if someone's going on maternity cover. Keep your eyes and ears open for yourself. But also, I want to say that network with people who work in the organization. You want to be able to spending some time, it could be a coffee, it could be a lunch, to find out how do they work, what is the best way to get into an organization. And you could have a perfectly technical conversation about what skills you need to work on. They'll be happy to help. I've had a lot of conversations like this, and it's been absolutely helpful to have Swedes support with this information. Right. Get your resume looked at. Make sure that you're sending it to people who have the time and who are helpful enough to give you feedback about this. Look for skills that are called for in a job search. We spoke about this on LinkedIn, because how they would present a job in Hong Kong, for example, versus how they do it here is very different. And so try to go into LinkedIn, look at what skills are required and see where you stand and be realistic about this. Also, make sure that you have a strong profile, a brand on LinkedIn that people who are curious about you should go in and find out. They should know from your LinkedIn what you do, what your skills are, and who you are. But also meetup groups, I don't have to say much. That is where we found each other. But also Toastmasters Sweden, we know that name came up. There's a lot of communities which are opening up to help women who feel like, okay, I don't think I look completely competent yet. I want to work with mentors. I want to work with people who are in this field of creating jobs and looking for jobs, and I wanted to hang out with them. So there's Girl Gone International group on Facebook. There is Expats in Stockholm. These are great groups to be part of. There's also a solopreneur group, which is a Swedish group on Facebook if you're looking at building your own business while you're looking for jobs. So those are places that you can sort of find a network to support you. Connect with people in similar interests and skill groups, because that is absolutely key, especially when it comes to data science, IT, cybersecurity skills. This will be critical. Give yourself permission to recharge, to explore interests. Like we had Obo who went into photography. What that does is takes your mind off the job search completely, and it fuels your clarity to say, okay, I really enjoyed doing that photography session. When I come back to my job search, I'm like, okay, recharged, finding out new ideas have come up, and I have new energy to continue on my job search journey. You will not rush yourself or stress yourself or shame yourself for not having found the best job yet, but also research about people in your dream roles, make an effort to meet them, build trusting relationships with people who are in similar situations. I think this is very key. We tend to not pay attention to people who are looking for jobs or who are in the same situation, because we're like, oh, we'll move on anyway. I'm going to find a job anyway. But really, can you be a connector to those people as well? Can you look for jobs? If you hear a great match that you see potentially that could be created, and you know both these people, can you connect them? Because when you help others, then they will also want to help you back. So try to look at how you can connect and bridge jobs and people. So that is one big tip. And remember, you will probably find this job seeker maybe in the next 4 years looking at a different organization. Maybe your paths will meet again. So keep a more sustainable overview about your career, not very short term. And again, focus on remaining hopeful, not fearful. I think that is the biggest message. The fear that, what will happen if I don't get a job? My visa will go away. Yes, those fears will show up, but saying that, yes, I know this may be a possibility, but I have to look confident, I have to look competent, and I need to showcase my skills to the best of my ability in this interview, in this networking group. That is key to me, just to show up and show that I'm in this race and this journey, so to say. But yes, I mean, that's about it. And I had a nice quote here. One small grounded move today can change the direction of your search. Make sure you pay attention to it so that you know what your next move is, right? But other than that, thank you, Jagdish, Sita, for giving me this opportunity. I just want to wish all you job seekers a fantastic journey, hopefully one that enriches you and grows you. But thank you very much for your time. We can ask some questions now, so I'm going to stop sharing.
Yes. So if you have any questions, you can raise hand, unmute and ask, or you can also type in the chat. If no one has any questions, we can also end the session.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Number one, can we get the slides to this event?
Yes, you can get the slides and recording. I've shared a link in the chat. You can join the group,
Okay.
LinkedIn group, and then I'll
Okay.
send the message with the recording. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'd like to have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Great.
No, doesn't look like it. Okay.
Nice.
Hi, Avanti and Jagadish. It was a great session, and it's really true that the mindset is matter. Am I audible?
Yes, Shubha, you are. I can hear you really well. I didn't want to cut you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. That's true. Like if we change the mindset as you mentioned, so we will be more productive and as a person, and also we can bring our best version of ourselves during the interviews. But I'm not sure, like even after this session I will go back to my normal zone. So like I want to know how we can consistently keeping our mind to this zone, like positive zone, like being hopeful and like being living in the moment, not desperate for jobs and like. So I want to know how to prepare the mind consistently.
So Shubha, from a offer perspective, as a lead consultant of Conscious Together, I'm happy to offer you 2 free coaching sessions. If you have questions specifically, please reach out to me. I'm happy to work with you. This is something that is very close to my heart. Also, as a woman that you are trying to step out and build a career, I'm happy to support you. So if you, Shubha, or we can look at how many people, hopefully not too many, but if you write to me, we can set up some coaching sessions. I do offer paid sessions as well. So if you'd like, I can send you the information about a package. We say ideally about 6 to 8 coaching sessions will help sort of build a mindset of success and sort of resilience towards not only a job journey, but also as an individual, because your identity is changing as well as you're looking at these jobs. So I'm happy to support you. I will leave. I think, yes, thank you, Jagdish, for leaving my LinkedIn. You can also write to my email address here. It's Avanti at Conscious Together, conscious-together.
That's good to know. Okay, I will follow up this.
And
Thank you for the session.
Write in, and then we can work about it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes. Andalib says.
Sorry. Just I want to make this announcement. So I shared Avanti's LinkedIn link in the chat. I suggest everyone to connect and follow.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yes. And Andalib, thank you very much for being here. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the session. I mean, of course, if you have any feedback, please feel free to leave it in the chat. This is one of the first kind of job search related sessions that I'm doing. So any feedback is appreciated. It's also a new direction that I've picked on. So let me know. But coming back to questions, I mean, anything else? Omar, are you saying something?
Oh no, I wasn't.
Okay,
At least I know Swedish is even more is easier than Finnish language. So, but I'm in Finland, so I don't know how Swedish will help. But it's okay.
Yes, and question of curiosity will continue for a while now, but it's good we've got you interested.
Yes. Okay. Then you can always ask questions. Connect us with in LinkedIn or join our groups, and we are going to have more and more tech meetups in near future. Once in a while, we have outside of tech meetups, like when we find amazing people like Avanti. And thank you so much, Avanti, for your time and great insights. And I recommend everyone to connect with Avanti and also try to meet and get some more insights. So while she is still available for us. Yeah. Okay. I wish you all have a very nice day. See you all in some other sessions. Bye-bye.
Helena, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Wish you
Thank
the
you,
best.
Avanti.
I wish you the best of your journey. Thank you. Jagdish.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Jagdish.
Thank you,
Bye.
Avanti.
Thank you.
Thank you.